So after passing away in 2014, a man by the name of Ronald Reed made the news for amassing over $8 million, and everyone wanted to know how, including his family. In today's video, I'm going to share with you that it might be easier than what you think to retire a millionaire. You may say I'm in my 20s, so retirement is far away. I'll be honest, I felt that way too, and I'm a lot older now, and I wish someone had shared these tips with me, as I would be a lot closer to my goals. And the good part is, no matter how old you are, or no matter how young you are, even if you have nothing set aside for retirement right now, if you start today with the strategies and principles that I'm going to share in this video, you have the potential to change your life forever. Several studies have indicated that 1/3 of the people that retired millionaires never made more than $100,000 in a single working year ever over the course of their careers, and 79% of millionaires did not receive an inheritance from their family. My dad had an uncle in South Africa whose name is Johnny, Uncle Johnny as we call him, and he was actually a baker, and he was privileged enough to bake President Nelson Mandela's birthday cake. I forget if it was his 70th birthday or 80th birthday, but hey, he baked the cake. And he was a real craftsman when it came to baking, but I know that he didn't make a lot of money, nor did he live a lavish life by any means. But by the time he retired, and this is going back 20 years or more, he had more than R1 million set aside from contributing to his retirement fund. And yes, I know R1 million in today's day and age is not a lot of money, but back then in South Africa, it was. So I decided to do some further research on ordinary people like Uncle Johnny to see if anyone else had a similar story. And the name that kept popping up was a guy by the name of Ronald Reed.
Ronald Reed had quietly amassed an $8 million fortune before his death last year.
What does it take to amass Mr. Reed's $8 million fortune? It might not be as hard as you'd think.
Reed was an American philanthropist, an investor, a janitor, and a gas station attendant. He grew up in an impoverished farming community and walked or hitchhiked to school, his high school, 4 miles or 6.4 kilometers, depending on where you're watching this video, each day. And he was actually the first one to graduate from high school in his family. After serving in the military, he worked at a gas station as a gas station attendant and as a mechanic for 25 years. And after retiring from that job, he started working again. I think he probably got bored, but he started working again as a part-time janitor. When he passed away in 2014, he had amassed a fortune of about $8 million. A question that a lot of people ask is, how was somebody who was a janitor able to retire and have over $8 million in terms of their net worth? At this point in time, you might be saying, okay, so what is it that he did? How could someone from that background amass such a fortune when I know people making significantly more money than that, but they'll never have that much saved up? The answer to the question is investing. However, if I stopped at merely saying investing, that's not going to help you, nor would it help other people watching this video. And that's why I decided to record this video where I'd break down the strategies that Harold and other successful people have followed and are following. The first thing that Harold did, and that so many other wealthy people or millionaires do, is to save and invest a portion of their salaries each time they get paid. I know that you might have heard this concept before, that we should be saving, but if you are like me, knowing to do something and actually doing it doesn't always work out. There are many reasons why people don't save, and this includes their monthly income barely covers their monthly expenses, or in some cases, it may not, and they're actually living on credit. Another reason they may have is that the money left over at the end of the month covers the expenses, but there's just such a little left over that surely by saving and investing is not going to make any difference. I may as well just spend it on whatever I want to spend it on. I just want to remind you guys, it's important to change your mind regarding this. And hopefully by the time this video is done, you'll see why I say so. Once you decide and make a commitment that you're going to start saving, even if you start with $20 per month, the next important choice that you need to make when it comes to saving and investing is, where are you going to save and where you're going to invest. If you're merely going to take your money and you're going to put it into a bank account that's going to offer you 1%, your goal to achieve $1 million in retirement will be really tough, especially if you don't have a lot of money that you're contributing. We personally save for our short-term goals in high yield interest savings accounts, and we use apps like Acorns and Robinhood to be able to automate our investing. our small investing, I'm not talking about our large dollar investing, but our small investing, when we first started using Acorns, we were setting aside $5 per week, which is about $22 per month over a year. And if we do that every week for 40 years and we assume a rate of return of 10% and not taking into account any probable increases that we're going to have, so we could be setting aside more money, after 40 years we would have invested $11,000, but we would have earned $112,000 in interest just by putting $5 aside each and every week. On the other hand, if we had taken that $5 and put it into a savings account that pays 1%, we would have ended up with $11,000 being invested, but we would have earned $2,400 in interest. So think about that. Do you want to earn 1% or 10%, which is historically what the market, when it comes to index funds and the like, has been returning? Number 2, determine what your goals are and how much you want to retire on. It's important to know how much you need to set aside each time you get paid to be able to retire a millionaire. I recorded a video on how much you need to be saving at each stage or decade in your life in order to achieve millionaire status or to retire as a millionaire, on the assumption that you're going to retire at the age of 65 or 70. I use those numbers because we live in a day and age where I know lots of people who are in their 70s that are still healthy and strong and still have a desire to work. I've included a table on the screen which indicates what you need to set aside each week or month depending on when you get paid in order to achieve the goal of retiring as a millionaire. A little disclaimer, this is based on a return in the market of around 10% to 12%, which historically speaking is how the stock market has trended. At the time of recording this video, the stock market has taken a bit of a battering, but history indicates that after a recession and after a bear market that we will have a bull market. And that's why it's important to invest for the long term and not be someone who is purely interested in short-term gains, also known as somebody who's speculating in the market. What you'll notice from the table is that depending on your age, you may not need to be setting aside a lot of money from each paycheck in order to retire as a millionaire. The key, however, is to achieve this goal is to invest consistently over a long period of time. If you're in your 30s now and you want to retire at 70 years old, you would need to set aside $100 per month for the next 40 years at the average rate of return that the market has indicated. And by doing so, you will achieve your goal pretty easily. If you are older than 30 and you feel that it's too late, it's not. If your current income and the rate that you are currently saving at won't get you to the desired goal, then you need to have other strategies in place, which we'll address later in this video. If you'd like to retire earlier than 70, that's awesome. But again, you still need to make an assessment with regards to what you are aiming for, and based on what your current lifestyle is and what you're setting aside for retirement, is it actually feasible? Can you achieve it? If it does require getting a higher paying job, then maybe you need to get a new job. If it does require cutting or reducing your standard of living or to generate extra income, you might have to do that, especially if you've got a goal to move the goalposts a bit forward and not aim for the 65 to 70 mark. Step number 4, start budgeting and tracking every cent. Do you think that wealthy people track every cent in Excel or in a budgeting app? Probably not. But they've got systems in place which allows them to grow their wealth. While I do have an Excel spreadsheet, which I do check from time to time, I don't believe in budgeting and tracking every cent. As for me personally, that's a bit too restrictive for my personality. What we, however, do is we automate our finances at a really high level. How this works, so what I mean by this is we have our salaries that gets paid into a central checking account each pay period, and then we automate transfers into our high yield savings account, into our brokerage account, to pay our mortgage, to pay insurance and other recurring expenses, and then to our spending accounts. And the great part about this is that we don't have to track every cent that we spend, especially when it comes to our spending money, because the money that goes into our spending accounts, we can spend on whatever we want. All our other important payments that need to take place, like I said, our mortgage and those stuff, are taken care of automatically. So I'm not worried about that, because at the start of the year, I assessed what these bills were and I pay it. And yes, if I do hear that there's been a change, I go and I have a quick look at my spreadsheet, I make adjustments, and I automate my payments and my transfers again. So when we first started automating our finances, we looked at our short-term goals and our monthly expenses and obligations, and we automated our savings based on those goals, but we didn't consider our long-term goals. Brittany and I set aside time at the start of the year to determine any short-term goals that we might have. And when I say short-term goals, I mean 1 year or less. And we decided that we need to set aside money for those goals each paycheck so that we do not need to be buying things on credit. And as an example, I'm originally from South Africa, and one of our goals is to be able to travel to South Africa each year. And at the timing of this video, it could cost for a family of 4 like us anything from $4,000 to $8,000 depending on the time of year that we want to travel. And let me just clarify this real quick. When I say buying things on credit, yes, we do buy our plane tickets on credit card, but we pay it off immediately so we can earn those points. But we're not going and taking out a loan in order to travel and then being in a position where we're going to have to worry how we're going to pay the bill in the future, or where we're going to have to end up paying lots of interest on it. One thing that I can, however, say that we had not taken into account when we originally started automating our finances was how much we needed to set aside in order to retire as millionaires. So while we were no longer needing to buy things on credit to accomplish our short-term goals, at the rate that we were going, that meant that we would not be anywhere near millionaire status at retirement and would probably have had to continue working a lot longer than what we would have liked. What we needed to do was determine, as lined out in step 2, how much we needed to set aside each paycheck in order to achieve that goal of retiring as millionaires. And then we needed to make adjustments to how much we've automated to our savings and brokerage accounts. Number 4, be an investor and not a speculator. Reed was an investor in the stock market and focused on investing for a long term. He was not a speculator by any means, and he did not endeavor to beat the market. Listen to me, he did not want to beat the market. He just passively invested in these stocks. At the time of his passing away, he owned a lot of blue chip stocks. So lots of blue chip stocks was part of his portfolio. But the one thing I want to point out real quick, the risk associated with having all of your investments tied up in stocks or in one company is that if the company closes down, you could lose your money. And I'm by no means saying don't buy individual stocks. I own individual stocks, but what I am saying is you could study a select group of stocks and then maybe invest that way, the way he did, but you don't have to go that far. You can actually do pretty well by taking your money and investing or sticking it into low-fee, broad market index funds, right? Such as the S&P 500, which tracks the top 500 companies in the United States. If you've been a subscriber to my channel for any length of time, by now you know that I love talking about index funds and ETFs, as they are some of my favorite forms of investing. It allows you, the average investor like you and myself, okay, there might be some experts watching this, but for the average person out there, the opportunity to get amazing returns in the stock market without having a knowledge or having lots of knowledge about investing and when you should be moving your funds and so on. And so you don't have to spend a lot of time researching individual stocks. You don't have to spend a lot of time and effort moving your stocks around. You could just passively invest into an index fund or into an ETF that tracks the S&P 500 and get great returns. So let's say you chose to invest in the S&P 500, which I've already mentioned is an index that tracks the top 500 companies in America. And this is instead of you going out and buying individual stocks in these 500 companies. You could simply buy shares in the S&P 500 and get the average return that particular industry is going to give. Right? Again, this is great for most people, including myself, as I don't have the time or the desire, to be honest, to research every individual stock. Knowing that I can just simply go and invest my money into a well-diversified, low-cost ETF or an index fund that's going to invest in thousands of stocks at once and gives my portfolio to the entire index, to me, that's a great deal. That's for me personally. Step 5. If you have a retirement fund at your employer that has a match, take full advantage. It's important to know what type of plans your employer has to offer and whether or not there's a match available. Some employers might offer you the traditional 401k or the Roth 401k or 403b. It's important that you understand the differences. But the biggest difference between the Roth and the traditional is the one you are deferring your tax hit until the future, and the other one you're investing with funds after tax. So just based on what you think is going to happen, do you think the tax rates are going to rise? Do you think it's going to fall? Do you think you're going to take a larger distribution in the future? Those are factors that people normally consider. And again, I've got a video on the differences which can help you make those decisions. But just at a really high level, I just want to encourage you guys, if you do have an employer that's got a match, take full advantage. It's pretty much free money. They are giving you money so that you can invest into your future. If you work at a place where there's a match of 4%, maximize that match. I worked at a place a couple of years ago where the match was 7.5%, and I needed to take full advantage. I needed to put in 7.5% to get 7.5% out in terms of the match. And what that did was it shortened, at the time, this was in South Africa, my goal of achieving a certain amount for retirement. Again, when I moved over to the States, I had to start from scratch because I had to start with a new base, exchange rates. I won't go into all of that right now. So let's say to reach $1 million for retirement purposes, you need to invest 15% of your income. If your employer has a match, and let's say it's 4%, that means you only have to invest 11% of your own money. If you do have the extra 4%, you could contribute that, so that will ensure that you've got more money set aside for the future. Alternatively, you could take that 4% and maybe pump it into a side hustle or another business that's going to generate even more income for you. Step 6. Wealthy people have more than one stream of income. In fact, many of them have 5, 6, 7 streams of income. Having a side hustle has never been more important or more essential in the day and age in which we live. With the ever-increasing cost of living eroding away at one's ability to pay monthly bills and to save, retirement might have taken a back burner for you. If you've watched this video and you looked at the amounts that I'm saying that you need to set aside each month, and you feel that you're not able to free up funds as you're just about breaking even when it comes to your monthly bills, maybe now is the time to look at generating extra income. The benefit of having a second or third stream of income is that you're not dependent on one stream of income. The second part, or the second benefit, for lack of a better word, is if you choose a great niche or a great stream of income, this could shorten your goal of retiring as a millionaire a lot quicker. So if you choose the right area in which you can actually start generating income, you can get to your goal a lot quicker. And I actually recorded a video early in the year which just shows you just some of the hot niches or areas at the moment that you can actually start today on a budget of $0, and you can start generating extra income. Hey guys, I trust that this video shed some light on how easy it is actually to achieve this goal of retiring as a millionaire. If you feel that this video helped you, or if you know somebody that this video can actually help, please consider sharing it. And if you've not subscribed to the channel yet, click subscribe. I look forward to catching up with you guys in a video real soon. Bye guys.